Hey guys, it's Jake here with etrailer. Today we've got a 2019 Ram 3500 and we're going to be taking a look at and I'm going to show you how to install the Demco Air Force One supplemental braking system. When planning on flat towing your Ram down the road behind your motorhome, there are 5 main flat towing components that you are definitely going to need and one that you might need. We ended up needing it here, so I'll show you what it is. But the 5 main flat towing components are going to be your base plate, your tow bar, your safety cables, some sort of supplemental braking system, and then your diode wiring. The one additional part that you might need, and it's all going to depend on how your vehicle interacts with your RV, is going to be a high-low adapter. You want your tow bar to be within 3 inches of level. For example, we needed a high-low adapter here because the measurement from the ground to the center of our hitchman hole on where our tow bar meets our base plate is going to be 23.5 inches. And then on the RV, from the ground to the center of the hitch pin on our hitch is going to be 19.5 inches. So that's 4 inches of difference. We were an inch out of that range, that 3-inch range. So we got a 2-inch high-low adapter, flipped it over so it's a 2-inch rise on our hitch, and now we're within that 3-inch range. The Air Force One is going to be a permanently installed supplemental braking system that mounts underneath the hood. That's going to give you your additional braking in your vehicle so that when you're flat towing it down the road, the motorhome doesn't have to do all the work. You think of it a lot like trailer brakes. If you have a trailer over a certain amount of weight in your state, you're going to have trailer brakes on it so that it can stop properly behind your vehicle pulling it. Same goes for towing a vehicle behind a motorhome, especially one this heavy that has a diesel motor in it. You're going to have some sort of braking in the vehicle so that the vehicle is stopping itself behind the motorhome that's taking care of itself. The way that it's going to apply the brakes in our vehicle is it'll take an air signal from your coach, so your coach will have to have air brakes on it, but it's going to take that air signal and apply it to the brake cylinder that is mounted to our brake pedal. And that will actually pull the brake pedal towards the firewall, simulating you pressing the brakes. This is going to be a proportional system, so as you ease into the brakes, or if you just lightly tap the brakes in your motorhome, it's going to ease into the brakes or lightly tap the brakes in your vehicle. There are going to be 2 kits available for the Air Force One that you can go with. One of them is going to have the physical red LED light that you'll put on your dash. We put it right in front of this speaker that's in the center of our dash, and it worked out perfect because our camera on our motorhome is super high up and it looks straight down at the windshield, so you'll be able to see it when you're driving down the road. The purpose for that light is to let you know that the system is working properly or improperly. The other version of this kit that is available, it has wireless coach link. So it basically just has a wireless reader that is underneath your dash, and it will talk to a little LED pod that you put in your motorhome, and it's going to be just basically a little computer that's going to show you those same 3 LED lights. It just will be in the motorhome with you, and you don't have to try to look in your rear view camera. This kit is going to come with a breakaway switch so that in an unlikely disconnect, this plunger will be pulled and that will apply the brakes on the vehicle, bringing it to a slow and safe stop. And this is the connection point I was talking about on the front of our vehicle. They do have quick connects, which is super nice. You just clip it into place and now you've got air to your system. As far as the installation goes, for this permanently installed system, putting it on the Ram I don't think is particularly a difficult task. Hopefully with my help you should be able to get it done. The RV side, on the other hand, is very difficult. I highly recommend having an RV tech have that done or have them do that for you. You can use our dealer locator in order to find somebody to do both if you don't want to do either one yourself. Or the other option is if you don't want to go through the trouble of getting a permanently installed system on either your RV or your vehicle, you can look into something like the Blue Ox Patriot. That is a portable system, so you can put it in and out of your footboard. I personally do not care for portable systems because you have to set them up and tear them down every single time you want to drive your vehicle. There's a lot less to tap into on your vehicle, so it's kind of a trade-off. I would much rather have this because all you have to do in order to flat tow your Ram is, first off, put it in flat tow mode, but then after you get everything hooked up here on the front, you're ready to flat tow. So I prefer that convenience over the convenience of not having to do the install. But with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at that. To begin our installation, we're going to have several components that we need to get mounted up before we can get all of those connected. We'll start with our main operating unit. There's several different places you can put this. It's really wherever you want to get creative. I like to just put it on top of the fuse panel lid because the fuse panel lid is easily removable. You simply put these two tabs. If you ever decide to not have this system on your truck and you want to take it off, you can seal up the holes that we're going to drill, or you can just get a new lid easily from from the manufacturer of your vehicle. So we'll put it here. I like to put them here because then it's nice and easy to get to if you ever have an issue with it. Some people like to mount them up behind the bumpers, behind the grill, different places like that. I just don't like those places because you can't get to it if you have a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and get this mounted up, and then I'll show you how I did it. What I decided to do is we just took some 2-inch hook and loop fastener, and I used 2 strips that are about 6 to 7 inches long a piece. This stuff should be more than strong enough to be able to hold this little unit in place while they're driving down the road. The reason I did it like this is because of how this lid opens. I thought the whole lid comes off with the buttons on the back too, but it doesn't. It just opens like this for them to get to the fuse panel. And as you can see, we barely have enough room to open it without this on top. So if they ever have to get in there, change a fuse, we can just lift this off, get in there, change it, and then be on our way. So we'll just take this, set it back down on top. And all I did was I just lined up the hook and loop fastener on the back side of this, peeled the double-sided tape off, and then stuck it to the top. And I lined it up with the 4 corners. It's almost the exact same size as the top of this lid. But you can see here, it's very, very strong, and it's not going anywhere on its own. Now in the footwell of our driver's side, we're gonna need to attach our brake cylinder to the brake pedal and then to the firewall. I'm gonna go ahead and do this, and then we'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's mounted up, because it's a very tight space to work under there, as you'll find out if you decide to do this yourself. The one thing you wanna watch for, we're in a Laramine version here, is you wanna look for the adjustable pedals, and you want to adjust them closest to the driver's seat, so that if you have this hooked up, which you should have it hooked up all the time, it doesn't break this cable. The motor on these foot pedals are very strong, so you don't want to break the cable or risk breaking the motor. So we'll slide it all the way closest to the seat, and then we'll get our brake cylinder set up like that. A lot of people ask, well, what if I want to put it further away, because not many people drive with it that close to the seat. There's no issue. You'll have enough slack in this line to where when you go to drive it, you put your foot pedals back where you normally like them, and then when you flat toe, you'll want to pull them all the way back out, and this will be tensioned right. And when it comes to the vacuum line on our system, we're not going to use that because we have the electronic booster on our vehicle. We'll just take a short section of the vacuum line that comes with our kit, just cut about 2 inches off of there. We'll take the plug, pop that in the end. You can put a little bit of silicone spray on there if you want, make it a little bit easier. And then on the end over here, it's kind of difficult to see where I got it. Let's see if I can't get it pulled off. Right here, there's going to be a little exhaust port. There's going to be this tiny little triangular or little cone-shaped rubber piece. We'll take that, slide that in. That is just a plug. And then we're going to take this acorn nut and thread that on. Then you'll just want to use an 8mm socket to tighten that acorn nut up. Now to help make this as clear as possible, to get everything connected up, I'm going to walk through starting from the front of our vehicle and move back to the driver's side footwell. So starting from our breakaway switch, we're going to have a black and an orange wire that we need to run up to the engine bay. We're also going to need to run a air line up from our air chuck right here. The way that I attach these to our front bumper is I just trimmed out a little bit of the plastic, ran it back on top of this lower valance, and then just used a self-tapping screw and ran it up through for our airline. And for this, I do like to use a bolt and a nut that comes in the kit so that it is a nice, strong place for it to pull off of if this plug ever needs to be pulled. So for our black and orange wires and our airline, we just ran it up. I ran it back behind this. You can kind of see it there, run back. We'll zip tie all that off nice and tidy. I'm going to put some wire loom on anything that's loose. And then we ran it up into our engine bay right here. Now it might look a little confusing because I did use 2 black wires. That's just what I had lying around here. But you want to use the same gauge wire that you have there. We ran it up here. The black wire on our breakaway switch gets connected to one of the 2 black wires on our operating unit. It does not matter which one. The other black wire needs to get grounded. And I just used this factory ground right here and it worked out great. The orange wire down by our breakaway switch is our other black wire here. And you can see it is run over here, connected to our fuse holder. You'll just have to, this will be in a loop in your kit. You'll want to cut that in half. And then going over to the other red wire that's connected up here. This red wire runs in through the firewall with our air line that goes down to our brake cylinder. Now try not to make it too confusing. For our air line that goes down to the air chuck at our bumper, that is going to be your air in. Just cut your line, make sure it's a nice straight cut, and then pop it into this fitting here. You'll take some more air line from your kit, pop it in here, and then we're gonna run it through the firewall. We'll go ahead and hop into the driver's side footwell and I'll show you where that grommet I went through is. Here you can see that grommet I used to run our air line and our positive and negative wire through our firewall. I just took a 1/4 inch drill bit. You can use a little bit larger, 3/8 would probably work a little bit better to fit everything through. I used that drill bit, just popped a hole right in that and then ran our lines through the firewall. The positive and negative wires are going to be to connect to the read light and the read switch that is on our Air Force One. So you can see here those connections that we made. You want to run the red wire to the red wire on our indicator light. The black wire on our indicator light is going to run to the brown wire on our read switch. And then the blue wire on our read switch is going to run to the black wire that we ran through for our ground. Now you can see our brake cylinder is mounted to the side of our brake pedal. I decided to mount it on the left side because I think it works a little bit better. And then you'll want to take the plate that comes with your kit and the 3 self-tapping screws, and you want to tap that into the firewall. There is nothing behind there, so you don't have to worry about hitting anything if you tie it into the same place that we did. And then for our air line coming through the firewall, we'll just want to pop that into the brake cylinder that's mounted to our brake pedal. Now with all of our connections made to our components, we can start connecting stuff up to the battery. We'll pop this nut loose with a 12mm socket. When you're connecting up this 12-volt source, do not have the fuse in it, because if you just barely tap the ring terminal on that, the fuse is going to think there's something wrong and it'll pop it. So save yourself a little bit of headache and time. Leave that fuse out until we're absolutely ready to test our system, and then we can throw it in there. Then we can come back here and throw in our ground with the 10mm socket. Now that we're done with the truck side of things, we need to move on to the motorhome side of things. What we're going to need to do here is there's a couple of components we got to mount up, and some things we have to tap into the factory lines on the motorhome. The first thing we'll need to mount up is going to be your air tank. This air tank is going to give the regulated air to the truck that it would prefer to have over the motorhome pressure, because motorhome pressure is super, super high. What we need to do with that is find a place to either drill holes and mount it up or find existing holes. I found an existing hole right above our hub where our airlines are all running into that we're going to need to eventually tap into. I found a place there, just used a couple of bolts, bolted it right to that frame rail where it is, or that section of bracket that has 2 holes in it already, and it lined up with the slotted holes. Just used the hardware that comes with the kit and bolted it right to it. When it comes to tapping into your factory airlines, you need to find the supply airline, which will be a 1/2 inch line. That'll be the big green line that you see under there. and then a smaller line, which will be a 3/8 line, that you need to tap into for our metered air. And that metered air is used on the coach to send it to other devices like our tag axle that uses metered air, our brakes and stuff like that. So we tapped into both of those, and then on the tank, you'll notice that on one end of the tank, there is one inlet that goes straight towards the tank. That's going to be your supply line. And on the other side, there's two. The one that's closer to the tank side is going to be our metered air connection. So just connect your air hose to each of those connections from where we tapped it into the lines. And then the other one that has a 90-degree angle on it, that is going to come back to the back of the coach. You'll want to run it back, following along with existing wiring. You know that the manufacturer put that there so that it's safe. So zip tie it off to that. Once you get it back to the back of the coach, we're going to take the fitting that comes with your kit, get it mounted up to the back of the bumper. These fiberglass bumpers are very, very strong. So what I did was just popped a few holes in it with the drill bit. I think I used like a 1/4-inch drill bit. Popped a few holes in it and just used the bolts, washers, and nuts that come with your kit to get it bolted up. Now the very last thing we need to do before we hook up our coach to our truck is we need to check those airlines for any leaks. Anytime you cut into an airline, you got to check the connections, because if you didn't get it pushed in all the way and it didn't seal properly, you're going to have an air leak, and you don't want to have that when you're going on the road, especially if your RV uses air for suspension like this one does. So turn your coach on, let it run until the air fills back up, because once you cut that supply line, all the air is going to dump out of the tanks. So let it fill back up. Once it's full to capacity, you can lay back underneath your RV, spray all of the connections that you made under there, including this one back here, and make sure that they're not leaking. And the way you test that is you use soapy water to spray it on those connections. If you see rapid forming bubbles, that means you have a weak connection. Pop that loose, make a nice clean cut, and put it back in there. Now that we've got the motorhome and the vehicle side of stuff done, we've run our motorhome for about 10 minutes. You want to push the brake pedal about 10 times and check your brake cylinder on your vehicle to make sure it's working properly. But other than that, with all that being finished, that's going to do it for installation. Well guys, hopefully this video helped you decide whether or not the Demco Air Force One supplemental braking system is right for you in your 2019 Ram 3500.